What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another really unorthodox, out of the box, out of the blue, out of nowhere, off schedule episode of the Geeks 5 podcast. I am your host, the one, the only, the notorious, the Ayatollah of rock and roller, the most chaotic panelist and podcast host in all of Texas, the one, the only, King Mexico, Jesse Goku. What is going on, everybody? It's Saturday. We usually don't do episodes on Saturday, but it's a special episode. It's a special episode because we are interviewing one. We are interviewing the individual that runs one of the premier anime conventions in Houston. One of the and now considered one of the longest running conventions in Houston. That's insane. Not the longest, not the longest, not yet, but one of the longest. All right. I'm here by myself. No co-host, no producers. So there is no skinny. We'll cover that on Monday with our very controversial topic. We're going to get into that later on in the episode. But thank you for joining me, the one, the only, Sarah from Delta HCon.
Hey, happy to be here today.
That's right. Thank you for being here. I will do a second introduction because we are now officially going live on Instagram. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are live on Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube simultaneously, brought to you by Restream. This podcast is brought to you by Delta HCon and BACon. BACon is July 6th and the 7th in the, I don't have the location, but I will get that later. And brought to you by Delta HCon at the West Chase Marriott, July 12th through the 14th. You can go to Delta HCon right now, get your passes, get your hotel, and you want to come hang out with the Geeks 5 crew because we are the life of the party. That is right. Shouting out to some of our viewers on Instagram. Shout out to some of our viewers across all platforms. We don't get all of our numbers anymore because Restream is kind of dumb, but it is what it is. Thank you for joining us, Sarah.
Well, thank you for having me. And just so you know, BACon is at the Houston Marriott South this year.
That's right. So side.
Yep.
Hide your kids, hide your wife. You know. Yeah, no. So, well, first off, want to say welcome back. It's been almost an entire year since you were on the show. Last time we had you was on a Sunday. This time we have you on Sunday.
Right before show. It's kind of hard to get the showrunners on.
That's right. Guys, if you have any questions, any comments, anything about Delta HCon, go ahead and feel free to ask. Ask us in the comment section. We will address it. The way Instagram works with Restream, though, I can't show your questions on the stream. It's dumb. But I got you. King Kunta 1991. I got you. Jessica 214 and CMG 1884 are here. Sarah, actually 1884 is one of your longtime volunteers, I believe. She said she did the little waving thing with the Sarah.
Well, thank you for volunteering. We absolutely need the community to help us. That's
right.
I like when they show up.
That's really right. When you guys show up and help out, it creates it. It takes more. It's less work for me, right? So let's share the load. All right. But it's been a year since you've been here. This is the 16th year of Delta HCon. 16th year. Now there was a year where you did have to skip. Unfortunately, that was beyond everyone's control, everyone's power. It was 2 years that we're going to not acknowledge in the history books. Everyone was on vacation.
We only skipped 1 year then, not 2.
Right, but we were still wearing masks and getting social. Technically, I was social distancing before COVID existed. So
there's a lot of people in the anime community that do that.
You can't. Well, the face mask thing was a trend in the anime community before.
Absolutely.
I remember seeing the face mask everywhere, and that's something they do like in Asia and different countries in Asia, Japan. They do it in China. They do it in several other countries. Those are just two of the biggest ones. I know they do it in South Korea as well. So it's very common to see face masks here in the United States. So it's a little bit different. People are a little bit more apprehensive towards it. But, I mean, it is what it is. People still wear them, and people don't.
Well, you can always still find your ninja masks and your Bane masks and all those things. So they're fun to wear.
That is right. Well, first off, like I said, I want to mention again, congratulations because it's your 16th Delta HCon. That is an accomplishment. And I will say this, like, it's not for those of you that are watching, 16 conventions is like not easy because there have been I've been going to anime conventions since 2007. I went to the first Delta H Con, the very, very first one. As a matter of fact, I still have my badge from the very first H Con. And I've seen lots of conventions. I've seen Kamikaze Con, I've seen Anime Austin, Anime Overload. I've seen Animix. I've seen YuleCon. I've seen ApolloCon. I've seen so many conventions just come be staples of the community, and they just kind of gone away or got absorbed by another convention, or so on and so forth. But Delta has been around for a long time now. And y'all have gone through at least that I know of three. This is your third venue that you've been with. Like you were at
Fourth. This
fourth.
is our
Okay,
fourth venue.
okay. I remember. I didn't know if there was a fourth one. I think it was the hotel right across the street from the Galleria at one
Yes, we
point?
did that 1 year.
Okay.
We were not crazy enough to go back.
I mean, I didn't really like that location either. That's where Kamikaze Con was, and I didn't really like that location. Mark, if you're watching the show, miss you, buddy. Uh, but like 16, like wow, I mean, it's crazy because we were sitting down, we were talking about it, and like, all right, Delta, like, because we talk about all the conventions we're gonna apply for, all the conventions we're gonna do panels for, like, which ones are we just gonna like just go and just not do anything, and are we gonna do panels? Are we just gonna do press? Are we gonna do the podcast? Or are we gonna review them? So like Delta is definitely in our conversation of cons that we kind of like have to like I say have to do. It's not that we have to do it, but it's like one of those, okay, we have to be there because it's now become like, okay, Geeks 5 Ever is going to be a Delta. And like, yeah, we help out Delta as much as we can. We do the karaoke. I, which surprisingly runs until like most of the time runs until 4 in the morning. And it's actually, not filled, but it's still a good enough crowd. At 4 in the morning to have the crowd that we normally have is like no easy feat. Like that is not easy to pull off.
Yeah. They seem to wander between karaoke and the gaming room, that late night programming.
You and I got to give you kudos to that. By the way, your gaming room does not stink. So
Oh,
congratulations on that as well.
thanks.
Just making a joke. All right, so we do have so we're going to talk about the convention. So like I said, guys, if you have any questions, let us know. What's up, Bry? You better message me back. Uh, so I did give you like we kind of went over some of the questions we want because we want to go over some key points about the convention. And for those of you guys that don't know, if you want more information about Delta HCon, you can actually go to deltahcon.com or you can Google Delta HCon and the website should pop up. The convention is less than 30 days away. That is right. We are 3 weeks away from Delta HCon. That
I
is
know.
crazy.
Terrifying.
I mean, let like be real with us. Like how like nervous or stressed are you right now?
Um, I'm not nervous. Nervous is not what I am. Um, I have deadlines that I have to do stuff to get to the printers this weekend. I have to wrap up the program book and get that so that it's ready to hit press Monday morning. We have a holiday between now and the con, and so that's kind of kink in the plans a little bit with printing timelines. Um, but all of our guests are inbound at this point. I have all their flights done. Um, the badges are designed. They're ready to go to print. I just have to the book and the badges go to the same printer, so I put it in the same order. Um, we have our walk down to the hotel Monday just to make sure that we're on board with what they're doing and they're on board with what we're doing. It's just the pre-show walkthrough. Um, so there's a lot of work still in front of me, but it's normal, last minute. Got to do it at the end because everything changes till right at the end.
Right, that's true. Everyone has a plan, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody has a plan until they are punched in the face. And that is Very, very true with conventions, whether it's anime, whether it's gaming, whether it's comic, whether it's horror, or whether it's for your 18 plus conventions. Yes, everyone has a plan until things sometimes happen, but you got to make the best of a, you know, bad situation. Some real quick, got to acknowledge some comments in our Instagram post. Uh, just Jessica says, I caught y'all live. Might check out Delta H. Sounds like fun. CMG1884 says, it's so close and I'm so happy to volunteer again. I think this is my 10th year volunteering for Delta H Con.
Wow.
So here's the thing. And I know I gave you a list of questions, but I'm gonna kind of we're gonna talk about those. So there are some things that I did not, because when you asked me, I was at work and I had to come up with some questions like, okay, these are like what I typically ask. But I gotta acknowledge that one thing that Delta HCon does like remotely better than most conventions is that y'all y'all treat the volunteers like humans. And I've worked for conventions, not saying any names of the conventions because this is not that kind of podcast episode. That's Monday's show. But not saying names, but there are some conventions out there that have treated their volunteers like dogs. Like it's horrible, like because people, like, I feel like, and it's not every convention, it's maybe like a handful. There are some conventions that treat their guests like not their guests, I'm sorry, volunteers, like, okay, like, thank you, without you, like, there is no show. Like, you people, like, conventions need volunteers to help make things run smoothly, right? Because they they offer a service that, it's, and then you have a lot of veteran. Whenever we talk about volunteers, we always talk about the fact that your convention has a lot of repeat volunteers. You have a lot of veteran volunteers. CMG, I know them from high school, and I know that they've volunteered for a lot of conventions. And I know they've constantly volunteered at yours. The fact that you have so many people that just come back to volunteer at your con speaks volumes. And to kind of add kind of perspective to it for our viewers and listeners, uh, you ever worked at a job where people are sitting around the water cooler and gossiping and like sharing, oh, the supervisor treats me like garbage? Yeah, so it's the same thing with volunteers. Volunteers talk, they share cheese man, tea. They talk, don't work for this con, don't work for that con, don't work for this con. But like your con, I've never like really gotten that. Like like I said, you get people that are coming back to work for the con, which is amazing. Yes.
I was playing, but it takes my toy.
Okay.
This.
Yeah. Say hi.
Hi.
Zelda. Oh, you can't really see her, but say hi.
Hi, Zelda.
All right, go play with her. Daddy's doing something real quick. Okay? All right. Yeah, it's not Geeks 5 ever unless we have some kind of person in the background interfering. Yeah, so like I say, hey.
So yes, for our volunteers, we do try really hard to feed them and get them someplace to sleep.
What? You feed them?
We do. We feed them.
Did y'all adopt
Breakfast,
them
lunch,
or
and
something?
dinner. Oh,
Would y'all like adopt the volunteers?
So I know they work really hard, and I know there's places to eat around the show, but it's, you got to leave, and then there's sit downs, and you got to go for an hour, and you got to have a car.
I don't
So
know. Like, there's places that like people say that they're walking distance, but I don't know if you've been out there. It's like a desert walking through that parking lot.
so I also understand that it's July
Yeah.
in Texas, in Houston. So it may be walking distance. It may be under a mile. It may be half a mile. There are places to eat at the corner, but that's like 3 blocks away in July.
Yeah.
I would like the volunteers to come back in one piece and not be found dead in a parking lot because they died of heat stroke. um, so yes, we do feed our volunteers.
That's
Um,
great though. I'm glad that you guys take care of them, that you feed them, because I've said this, like volunteers are like the foundation of the convention. They're they're like the legs. If conventions were a body, I believe that and panels are like events, panels, guests are like the heart and soul. Volunteers, people like to say that volunteers are the heart and soul. I think they're more of the foundation, because with for any good structure, you have to have a solid foundation, and volunteers really hold up the convention and
I think
hold it
I'd
up
like to
to.
counter. I mean, I hear why you say they're the legs of the show. I'd like to counter to say they're the blood of the show
I think
because you
it's
can have legs and you can have a heart and a soul, but if you don't have any blood, you ain't going anywhere.
I mean, yeah, it's true, but like, yeah, okay, that's a good counter. That is a good counter. uh but like I said, and then like the brains are like the staff, because it takes a lot for people to kind of like run, because there's a lot of things that happen backstage. There's a lot of logistics. It's not just like, hey, I want to run a convention, and just do whatever I want and have whatever guest I want. And
The staff do a ton all year long. Like the main stage,
Mhm.
it doesn't just magic itself out of a box. We have to figure out what needs to be there, what we need to get new, what we need to repair from what was there previously, and get it all done. It doesn't happen the day of the show. It didn't happen the day before the show. Um, and the same for the game room. We look at the new games that are coming out. We make sure our consoles are up to date, the towers, all that stuff are functional long before the show gets here. um, the guest relations folks, they figure out what guests they want to have. They contact them, they get contracts done, they get their pictures and their panels and all kinds of stuff. It's
Mhm.
tons of work. But if the staff didn't do that beforehand, the volunteers could show up, the attendees could show up, but there wouldn't be a show.
Mhm.
Not to say they don't do a lot during the show, behind the scenes. They do. They keep the cogs moving.
Well, okay, so I'm glad you, because I just remembered, because when you said blood, I was like, I had another label for the blood of like the body, and to me, I just remembered, to me the blood is the attendees, right? Because the way I
Okay.
see it is this, you know it's not just conventions, it's anything. Guys, for anyone watching the show, let me put it like this, and I've said this multiple times in any episode that you can look back at. It doesn't matter if you're the WWE, doesn't matter if you're the UFC, the NBA, the NFL, doesn't matter if you're a movie theater, doesn't matter if you're a convention, doesn't matter what. If there are no, without the fans, there is no show.
Right.
Without the attendees, there's nothing. Without the WWE universe, there's no Raw and SmackDown. Without the viewers, the fans, there is no Marvel Cinematic Universe. Without the attendees, there is no Delta H Con. So I consider them, because, and I've always said that's been our goal as like a podcast. We are entertainers. We're here to put butts in seats, which we have been kind of good. Like, we've been really good at. I won't, like, for good or for bad. We've been pretty good at filling in seats. That's how we met John Gramillion, the voice of Gentle Criminal from My Hero Academia. He was a fan of the show, and he like, oh yeah, I watch your show, man. I like how y'all just talk trash about everything. I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to be known for, is the trash talking show. But we do have like, and I've spoken to other people, and we we started off as just like a channel that, like, okay, we're going to talk about like what's wrong with the community, like the drama, and not to get too far into it, but we're going to talk about like the issues. And then we eventually evolved into okay, we're going to review this convention, we're going to review that convention, we're going to interview this convention, we're going to dissect this convention and figure out what happened and what went wrong. Like, we kind of turned into the convention review channel, and people have started taking like what we have to say like to heart. Like, okay, there's this, there's that. Because I spoke to, I'm not going to say which con, But I spoke to one of them, and they're like, "Oh, you know what? They said thank you for the feedback. By the way, it kind of like made us realize how we can improve and like where we can do better because we take actual attendees that okay, did you go to the con? What did you like? What did you not like? But it has to be within the aspects that the convention can control. Like for instance, somebody was complaining in one of the convention group chats, not Delta, but a different one. Uh, like, oh well, this convention didn't wasn't that great because my friends weren't there. There were no room parties. Didn't have this one figure I wanted. I'm like, that's not really a good reason to badmouth the convention. That's just stuff they can't control. And I'm like, what were some things the convention could control that you did not like? And that's when they like, like maybe like this, and this. And so it has gotten better with the reviews. But no, yeah, but with Delta, like I said, the attendees are what I feel are the lifeblood. Because they are what makes everything kind of circulate, whether it's attending panels, whether it's going into the dealer's room, whether it's going to the artist alley, whether it's just walking around and taking pictures.
All right. All right. Attendees are the lifeblood.
Yeah,
Volunteers are the feet. Got it. You were right.
I win. It's not, yeah, no, I've given a lot of thought to that, like, analogy. Like, I definitely did not just come up with it overnight.
Right. Well,
We
we've
got,
got some people in the chat, and the con can't do anything about the lack of Taco Bell around the hotel.
once again, Deacon Rap. Is he even performing at Delta? Deacon,
Yes, he is. He's got a couple of panels and
I'll,
otaku rap performance.
okay, I'll make sure to stay busy during his show. I gotta throw shade. Nah, I'm messing with him. He comes on my show. We both go on each other's shows all the time, and I'll throw shade at him for loving Taco Bell, and then he'll mispronounce Spanish words. It's a
Well,
love hate relationship.
Geeks 5 Ever does have a panel. That's the first half of the otaku rap concert. So you want to keep
I
yourself busy. You are busy.
am busy. I am definitely going to be
Legit
busy during the
busy.
convention. Yes,
Not just an excuse.
yes. And here it's so one of the things. So one of the questions I wanted to ask that I'm going to kind of chop in half was that this is the 16th convention.
Mhm.
So tell us a little bit about running this convention because obviously it's been what 17 it's been actually 17 years, not the 15 years going into 16. It's been
So
16 for 16.
it's 18 years for the company.
Okay, 18 years.
Mhm.
So it didn't start in so Delta H Con started in 2008, but the company started before.
So our first year was 2007 for a company. The first show was 2008.
Okay, okay, I was about to say
It takes 1 to 3 years to set up a show.
this is by the way, that's a good point. Thank you for saying that. That is a thing that people don't realize. It does take at least a year to plan a con.
If you want to have a good one.
Yes, if you want to have a good one. If you want to have a dash con, 2 weeks.
Oh, isn't that the one that had like the ball pit?
Yes, yes, that one will always be the con in a warehouse with a ball pit in the middle.
I feel bad for those attendees. I really do.
I mean, it could be worse. There was a thing with Willy Wonka where the only one employee showed up and tried to make it work, and she became like meme famous. Did you hear about that?
Can't say I did.
Okay. Uh, I heard it was like a Willy Wonka themed like attraction, and it was like when people bought tickets and showed up, it was almost like DashCon. It was awful. It was pretty awful.
Sounds like it.
So yeah, but like going back to my point, it does take at least a year. You got to plan out it's finding venues, planning out like what are you going to do for where are you going to put your artist alley, where are you going to put your dealers, con ops, getting staff together, you know, figuring out there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of backstage stuff that goes into it. I have learned a lot about conventions and how they're run just by being friends with a lot of people over the years. And they'll tell me in vent like, oh yeah, I got to do this, I got to do that. Um, so if you want a good con, at least a year or two in advance.
So if
Uh,
you want a decent date at a venue that's not like just one panel room, you're looking at you need at least 9 months ahead of schedule to talk to the hotel, talk to the venue, whatever, to try and get on the books where you want it. Um, Even just renting a little park, if you want it for the whole day, you've got to reach out 6, 7 months early. Um, so that's part of why it takes so long. But um, the celebrities are also busy. They want to plan their year 6, 8 months in advance as well. So if you start talking to them a year out, you can get who their current agent is. You can get in touch with the agent. You can get through the contract negotiations, which with a good agent can take 3 or 4 days. With a not good agent can take weeks. Um, and then once you get the contract, then you've got to ask them for their panel list and their bio and their pictures. And then you go take the pictures and you send them off to whoever puts them in the framing for the con. Um, if you got 6 to 12 guests, that's not an insubstantial amount of work either. And then you can, schedule your announcement dates, and you don't want them all at the same time because then everybody sees like one blip from the show. So you want to schedule that out a little bit. And we're 3, 4 months into this process now, and that's just now we have guests. Now we've announced some guests. Um, but there's other things that take a little time as well. Um, it's mostly the hotel and the guests, and then just the sheer amount of work takes days and weeks and months to do. But
I do real quick. I You actually have a shout out on Instagram from sorry Sefi, I always say your name wrong. Sefi Hakubi
okay.
from
Hi, Sophie. He's going to be one of the DJs at our Friday night dance. What did they call it? Club Kinyobi.
So he is giving a shout out. Hi from CadaverCon. People are now very aware of Delta H Con when they've passed by my booth. Definitely can't wait to show Houston Real Annie EDM. I'll be doing that at Corpus tonight. Keep up the great work. Double high five emoji.
Yay!
So it seems like you have a. So I don't know if you're aware of this. Uh, I believe I have to look up my list because I don't have really good memory. So I believe it was last year though. You guys, I think Delta was in our. So we don't just review the conventions now. We do like a convention of the year award. We do like the top three, and then we do cosplayer of the year award. We started doing stuff like that. So you guys definitely last year were in the top three, which is not easy because we are very harsh with our grading.
Right? And
Like,
and there's now a ton more shows than there were when we started.
okay, so by the way, so that's another thing I was going to bring up that I didn't get to. So this year, you are. This is. I don't know if it seems like Delta has gone through a lot of obstacles because not to address the elephant, not in the room, but to kind of address. You got the con has not had an easy last 2 or 3 years because it seems like y'all like it's not anyone's fault. It's not your fault. It's not, but you have been on the same weekend as another convention in like the Houston area at least twice. I think in 2022 or 2021 it was Comic Palooza, and then the following year it was BotCon.
So can can probably roll it all the way back to 2019. Our weekend in 2019 had a hurricane come across Texas,
Yep.
come across Houston.
I remember that.
Yeah. It took out the bridge between Texas and Louisiana. Some of our staff could not get here. Like the hurricane rolled in like that Wednesday, Thursday time frame. So we were doing pack in. We made it to the hotel before the area around the hotel flooded and then went away. But yeah, that was a rough weekend. Um, there were quite a few of our guests that had trouble getting in. They made it at the end, but they had to do a lot of the guest relations folks had to do a lot of reshuffling flights on the fly because Houston Airport just wasn't working. um, but yeah, that was 19, and we all know what happened in 20. Um, 21 Comic Palooza was on our weekend. 22 Comic Palooza was also on our contracted weekend, but we knew that early enough that we were able to shift our weekend. But unfortunately, there was a brand new con in town called BotCon that was on that new weekend. We did not know that BotCon was a thing till like way too late. I apologize to BotCon. I'm really, really sorry. I did not want to do that to a new show, but I honestly just did not know. And then 22, did we have to move?
I think 2021 was Comic Palooza.
Right.
2022, you weren't up against anybody, but 2023 was BotCon.
Was it?
Yeah, because the so I go based on like when I wore my Captain Mexico armor to BotCon last year, and
Mhm.
that version of the armor I didn't have until uh late 2022
Well,
after Delta.
I, two years in a row, we were on the same weekend as Comic Palooza. The second one, the first one was so awful. The second one we shifted, and whichever year that was, we ended up on the same weekend as BotCon. So
Right. And
I'm
Comic
sorry.
Palooza is it's
Way too
not
big to go up against.
right. Well, I was gonna say like you guys did really well against going up against Comic Palooza. Comic Palooza is owned by the city of Houston, so they kind of just throw everything at it and see what sticks to the wall. Uh, it has gotten a lot better. I will say that this year, the year that y'all went against them, though, y'all had when it came entertainment wise. I remember the year that y'all had when it's the same weekend as them because I hated that year because we did so it was Friday. I had to do the I DJ'd a wedding that originally wanted to be at Delta, but they decided to relocate. I DJ'd that wedding. Then I came to do karaoke until 4 in the morning. And then I remember going to my room, showering, taking like a power nap, and then going straight to the Georgia Brown Convention Center for Comic Palooza that Saturday afternoon. And then I came back midday to run the rest of my stuff for Delta. So I was traveling between the two conventions, and then I traveled between the two conventions the same year you were with BotCon. But like, I digress though. It's not an easy feat to go against another convention because you're splitting up the fandom, you're splitting up the fan
Right.
base, you're splitting up everybody. But you guys did great. You did really well. Um, Delta has had a lot of trial and error, especially when it comes to like I'm not gonna lie to you. I've had some panels that aren't that great. I had some panels that were like, oh, they filled up the room completely and it was amazing. And I'll probably get a Nobel Peace Prize for ending, war. But there were some where like nobody showed up. It was awful. It's bad. And I feel like Delta it's one of the few cons I've been to that's not afraid to like give people a chance that are new. And that's one of the things I have to say that's very like respectable. Like I respect that a lot because one thing I've noticed about the community is people complain. Oh, I've been applying for panels at like 10 different conventions and no one's approving my stuff, right? Because I'm new. I'm new, no one's going to give me a chance. But I feel like that's not the case with Delta. Not saying that Delta is the only one that does that, but definitely Delta is one of the few conventions that do give a lot of new panelists a chance to figure out if this is something they would like to do on a regular basis.
Well, we definitely look at every panel that comes in. If you've presented your stuff in a way that kind of gives us a warm fuzzy, that you'll show up, you'll run your panel, it won't go off the rails. Um, it might go off the rails because you're new or whatever. Even experienced panelists can go off the rails. It depends on the crowd. But you're right. We're not afraid to give people a chance simply because they've never done it before.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know we've got a couple of new panelists this year. Um, they let us know, hey, this is the first time we've ever done a panel. We're only putting in one because we really don't know how this is going to work, but we'd like to give it a shot.
There is one panelist that is they're not a part of Geeks Forever, but they're associated with us, and they actually help us run karaoke. You approve their what is it called? Something ghost category list panel. Something about ghost and like.
Yeah, they're looking to talk about ghosts in the framework that Ghostbusters does.
So I don't know if you've actually. So the guy that's hosting that panel, he actually has an entire catalog of like not the ghosts are categorized not based on how powerful they are, but what kind of like what they can do, like certain abilities. Can they talk? Can they levitate? Like control objects. Like
I don't ever want to meet Slimer.
right.
I'm too much of a neat freak for that.
So I will say this about that. He showed us that list, and I'm actually really impressed with it. Like I was really like taken back. Like and he covers more. Like it's not just Ghostbuster ghosts. Okay, like what kind of categories Casper? Like yeah.
I don't know. Supposedly he's got he can touch things and he talks. So is that a phantasm?
So they're I guess they're based off of categories. Like I think he's like a category 3, but he goes over like all kinds of ghosts like Beetlejuice, Danny Phantom, Casper, like different ghouls and specters and anything supernatural. I think it's a great list, and there's like his list actually inspired us to do a panel. I don't think I don't think we're introducing it at Delta, but it's called like the top 20 worst main characters in all of anime.
Yeah, I don't think that I remember that one being on the list.
I try to limit how many panels I'm trying to limit how many panels I do for cons because I'm starting to feel a little selfish. Because we'll submit like 10 to 20 panels and some people are like, do you want to do all of these? I'm like, yes, all of them. Like, do you want to break? No.
Well, there may be some shows that need you to do more than others.
Yeah, there's some they're like, okay, you got 10 panels, and then there's some are like, you get two. Because I've seen you work and you don't eat. uh
You should
no,
eat.
yeah, I mean it's Delta's one of the few ones where I eat because they have a buffet breakfast that we pay for. Any like here as a cosplayer, anytime I eat food at a convention, I feel guilty because most con goers live off of sugar packets and water.
Or dry ramen.
Yes. Ugh. Anyways, you got another shout out from Lizzie Hedgehog on Instagram.
Hey
She said
Lizzie,
to
hi.
she said, "Woohoo! Happy 16th anniversary." Want to give a shout out to my co-host who just joined us, Super Saiyan Sonic, Rogue, Greg. I'm sorry if I and Mega Man 084. What's going on? Deacon Rap's watching on us on Instagram as well. It's interesting to talk. It's like Delta first. All right, so random plug. This con, obviously, this podcast is brought to you by Delta H Con. Delta H Con at the Houston West Chase Marriott, July 12th through the 14th. If you haven't already gotten your badges, just go online to deltahcon.com right now. I think the badges are still relatively cheap. You can get them right now. And if you're like me, you're broke and you're cheap and you have to walk around Costco and fill up on free samples because you can't actually afford to feed yourself. you might want to do it now sooner than better because the prices do increase and they're kind of more expensive at the door. But you know
They're
who's going to be
45
there?
online right now, and they're 50 at the door.
$5, and that's like that's a $5 foot long right there.
Not
Uh,
saying nothing. We do have super early bird passes for like $25. So, but you got to buy those like a year in advance.
yeah, you gotta buy those. I think I bought one last year. For I think it was like 20, 25. I don't remember. Yeah. All right, so I do, but when it comes to panels, you guys always have like a good list of panels. There have been some panels that are like, okay, but that's like I said, it's like you said it. It's not. It's like sometimes it's just maybe the panel, not. Sorry, my daughter threw me off. Uh, Panel hosting's not for everybody. You gotta definitely. There's a level of you can have anxiety, you can have a panic attack. If you're shy, if you're not really outspoken, definitely being loud and obnoxious like myself helps.
Well,
But
there's also, we put panels on the list that, we think will go off, but then the community's like, that's so last month. I don't really care anymore. So
that's the problem with anime
they just
or
might
the
not
anime
show up for that
cosplay
panel.
community. That's definitely a cosplay community. That's like there are definitely some panels where like no. There are a lot of panels though that are being hosted. Um, Deacon Rap we did share with Deacon Rap. Deacon Rap has 4 panels this year at Delta HCon, including Otaku Rap. For those of you that don't know, Deacon Rap is like trying to be like Eminem, but about anime stuff. I mean that in the best way. He knows I'm. Speaking of which, for those of
Deacon
you
Rap or
watch,
Eminem?
say that again.
Speaking of, Deacon Rap
Speak
or Eminem?
both Deacon Rap. So we actually are doing a very special live podcast from Delta HCon. It might not be in the con floor because they have some sitting areas where we could do the show. We might do it in our suite. We might do it in the con floor, but we will have a special podcast during Delta HCon. And we have the Monday before Delta. We have the Monday before Delta HCon is our go home show. And to kind of explain to Sarah a little bit and to our audience what a go home means. So wrestling shows they always have the one show before their big pay-per-view, and they call it their go home show. It's a promotional hype episode, right? So that's pretty much what we do. Our go home show is going to be the go home show for Delta and our BACon review. And then we have our official Delta HCon review the Monday after the convention is over. And during the show that Friday night, we will be broadcasting live from Delta HCon. So make sure you check it out. We have like a lot of things going on, guys. So much hype, so much going on. Representing Geeks 5 Ever this coming weekend, though, it's going to be Deacon Rap. He's going to be like a semi-social associate of Geeks 5 Ever representing us at Etchy Expo Dallas. That's right. Etchy Expo Dallas, the Big D. If you check it out this Friday in the Dallas area, we also have BACon and Delta. Go to deltahcon.com right now. Do it. Make sure you join Geek Cyber because we will be there. We don't just bring the hype, we are the hype. All right. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you. So, and you kind of like touched on this a little bit. So with the increase in cons in the state, and not just the state, like nationally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it posing like a real big challenge for you, especially being like there are some years where you're gonna like not on purpose, but sometimes you're just gonna end up on the same weekend as another show, and it's not just Delta. This year, like Fan Expo was like I forgot what weekend they were on. Comic Palooza was Retro Palooza. It was Comic Palooza and Retro Palooza same weekend. But does it pose like a challenge to you, like every year, knowing that there's an increase in convention, and it's not just anime conventions. We have all kinds of conventions now.
So I'm not gonna lie, it is a challenge. We tend to do contracts in like 5-year chunks. So I'm already contracted all the way out to 26. And after this show, I get to work on my 27, 28, 29, and 30 year contracts. But um, when I did this 5 year chunk, I was looking and I do like a calendar and I put a bunch of pins on it for clusters of shows. Like I look at what's in Houston and they're one or Houston's one color pin, Texas is another color pin. Big things that have like 10,000 people or more are a different color pin for like outside states. Because I know that we draw from our vendors, we draw from our guests, and we draw from not as much the community, but still some people in the community, even nationwide shows. I don't tend to look at international shows so much. Um, I got to stop somewhere. But the increase of pins in Texas and Houston when I was looking in 2021 and 22 was like astronomical. We've had 7 or maybe 8 new shows here in the Houston area come
Mhm.
up in the last 3 years. Um, and I mean, Houston had 3 shows. They had OniCon, still going to call them a Houston show, even though they started in Houston and then moved to Galveston. We had Matsuri, and then we had Delta. We had some others come and go in the last 16 years, but mainly those 3. Um, but now we've like tripled in the Houston area in the last 3 years.
Mhm.
So it's not an insubstantial amount of shows that the attendees get to go, okay, cool, where do I want to go? Because as you mentioned, um, anime fans spend all their lovely money on anime stuff. And when there's but tons of shows to go, like 10 shows, there's 12 months. If they're in the same month, oh man, that's your whole paycheck.
Yeah, I mean, right now as we speak, I'm trying to financially prepare myself for Delta, and like I'm like, ugh, I'm gonna have to. Who wants to sleep on my floor? Any takers? So yeah, financial. So I don't know if you realized it or remembered, but there was an increase of conventions in like early before 2010 and the mid 2010s. There were a lot of anime conventions. There was like YuleCon, like there was I forget I'm forgetting the names are like, I can't remember a lot of the names. But we did have a flux at one point of anime conventions. And then like they kind of went away because there was way too many. And now I feel like that's kind of the case, but not so much as anime. More, it's like people are like doing like we just had Fan Expo. Like, what is Fan Expo? Oh, it's just whatever you're a fan of, we got it.
Right.
Uh, you had Retropalooza. They're a gaming con, but they had like the Ninja Turtle cast. You have you had Allcon in Dallas, which they're kind of just everything, right? They're like mostly science fiction, but they're kind of everything. They're trying to like do more anime stuff. Comic Palooza, obviously, it's like it's play on Comic Cons. They're trying to do anime stuff. So you and then like not to mention, we haven't like acknowledged this yet, but and a lot of conventions don't consider this competition, but the Texas Renaissance Festival is also competition for conventions, not just anime and Comic Con, but
Right.
conventions
So
as a
you
whole.
you do have the Ren fairs. So the Renaissance Texas Renaissance Festival north of us, but you also have 2 of them out toward Austin. One of them's earlier in the year, one of them's later in the year. I think at the same fairground
Is
out there.
isn't there one going on right now in the Dallas area?
Yeah, it's kind of up toward there.
So I know there's like always a renaissance going on. Uh
Yeah, I think there's like three different ones that kind of rotate throughout the year here in Texas. Um,
uh quick shout out to CMG posted. That's why this is kind of to our earlier conversation because there's like a massive delay between what we're talking about in Instagram. So CMG says that's why I'll never do a panel. I have huge stage fright. That is a valid reason. Horror Film Festival and Anime Matsuri are the same weekend this year. I did not know that. And Horror Film Festival is in the same venue as Delta, or at least I think they are. That was I think they were there last year, and it was
Yeah, the
massive.
our venue has managed to pick up quite a few um, other shows this year and last year.
Oh, I know.
Um,
I'm very much aware because they have people have been telling us like, "Hey, did y'all know we got another adult con and another adult anime con?" I'm like, "Really? Another one?" They're like, "Yeah, you need to go and like host your stuff there." And I'm like, I'll think about it."
um,
So we it's just because it's in October, and October is I like to go to the Renaissance, and I don't really do conventions from October to December. So like I said, I am strongly considering. I don't. This is for, and this is a topic for a later episode. I don't know if you watch the Renaissance HBO Max documentary. Probably gonna start distancing myself a little tad bit, just tad bit. But I digress. So one of the questions I wanted to we talked about like it obviously it's going to be a challenge every year because you have to come up with new and innovative ways to bring people back because if it's the same thing over and over, and I'm not trying to talk bad about conventions as a whole because I love cons, but unless the cons do something different every year, like different guests, different fun panels, all kinds of things to kind of stand out, it's kind of just a glorified flea market. You pay, you go into the artist alley, you go into the dealer's room, and like that is like I actually like going to the dealer's room at especially Delta. Man, last year at Delta, I got some Dragon Ball Z figures that I actually got a better deal in the dealer's room than I would have gotten online. And I'm always up for saving money, so I love that.
well,
It's
I'm
always
glad you were able to find some Dragon Ball figures that you liked.
yes. People are like, yeah, like he needs more.
Hey, everybody's got to have their thing.
Hmm. So here's the tough question. This is one of the tough questions I gave you a chance to kind of prepare for, and you can be completely honest with us, or but this like we've acknowledged that this is the 16th convention. We've acknowledged there's a lot of work, there's a lot of competition. In your honest opinion, did you think you'd get this far?
Thinking back to the me that was sitting on a desk talking to somebody who used to run Kamikaze Con with Mark. Um, no, I can't think I ever thought at 18 years later I'd still be doing cons. Sitting there talking to her, I didn't know I'd ever do a con. She convinced me to do a con. And, well, I guess I'm just stubborn. So I get some contracts and I keep doing cons.
Right, because it's not like let's not sugarcoat it. It's not easy.
No,
It is not easy at all. Like it is a lot of work. I mean, you have had some private conversations. Jesse, did you do this? It was like that when I found it. Like, and it's rough. Like just hosting panels and like doing what we do for the con. Like it takes planning. Like we were planning. So for Delta last year, when we planned everything out, not just the panels, but like everything we did during the con, like with our group and our private hotel room and part of the panels, just for BotCon, we were planning like so the con was in July. I think we started planning in March. And we're not even like staff on the con. We're just panelists.
right?
So
Um,
we
I,
were already getting
I
that done.
acknowledge that, to have even one panel takes some forethought and lots of effort. Everybody has some sort of presentation, whether it's a digital presentation or it's just a group of friends that have gotten together and figured out, how they're going to choreograph what they're going to do.
It's true.
It's a lot of work.
And like the funny thing is, and I will share this. So the panelists do talk. Like some of the panelists do. Like we have like a little. I'm joking, but it's kind of like we have a staff meeting. All right, and then we kind of share tea and like, oh yeah, this con was awesome. They were easy to work with. Oh, this panelist stole my ideas. Stuff like that. Just water
So
cooler talk.
the volunteers talk,
Yeah.
the panelists talk. the vendors talk. If you screw over one, everybody's going to find out.
Oh yeah.
So don't be that con.
Oh, like I have, and that's the thing. Like I call myself, and this is where I have to constantly remind people. Like in the beginning when I do my introduction, I'm like, I am the most chaotic panelist and podcast host in all of Texas. That's actually not true. I try to be on time, and I try to end on time. I try to be professional. I'll show up. I won't like I won't cut, like, hey, like they gave you an hour. I'm not gonna do anything until your hour's up. I do get upset though when people go over their time. Like I will get visibly annoyed. Like, hey, you were supposed to end at 11. It's 11:05.
Right? I was supposed to start at 11:05. You're not out yet. How can I start?
Like I can't set up while you're doing your thing because first off, I wouldn't want you to do that to me. Secondly, like, hey, where's the it's proper etiquette. You gotta be like on time, and they give you time to set up, and like the thing is, like, it's very important as a panelist to be on time, to kind of like, if you're gonna destroy the room, at least clean up after yourself, or put it back together, or if you're gonna be late. One thing I don't do is, when we run panels, we have so not just me, but like some of our other members, we have something that's called a backup panelist, because that's why we have co-hosts, right? Like that's why I have a co-host for the show. In
Right.
case I can't do it, they can fill in, because that's how, like, because we have to have a backup. My daughter is constantly coming in here, like, and I know, like, I don't like I don't mind her being on the show. I just don't like the fact that she's like harassing the dog. She'll chase him away like, "Ew, go away, ew, gross." And then when the dog like takes a hint and leaves, she's all like, "Where did he go? Come back."
Oh, she sounds like she's 6.
She is 5, and she 1 year when she was like 4. Our dog is almost 3 years now, and when he was still like 1, she had like a little, it looks like a nightstick, but it's like filled with soapy water so the kids can make bubbles. Has like the little thing inside of it.
It's like a bubble wand.
Right, it's a bubble one. And she was trying to hit the dog with it, and I'm like, hey, don't do that. And then she started smacking me with it, and she's like, hi, hi, and I actually like video footage of her. She's I just, for those of you that don't know, I just got my daughter. I got back to Houston, so I'm a little exhausted, a little tired, but I'm glad she's here. I took her with my friend to Build a Bear. That's why when you text me, like, hey, I'll be there in 20 minutes. We actually went to Build a Bear. I've never been to Build a Bear. I don't know if she's ever been to Build a Bear, but we took her for today, and I think easily we spent like $60. I did not know Build a Bear was that expensive. I knew it was a little expensive, but $60 were spent on Build a Bear. I did not. I did not. I wish somebody had, because now I want to Build a Bear because they have Simba. They have Simba from the Lion King. I'm like, oh, good Lord, they have Simba. How much is
So
Simba?
should I tell you? I'm sure they can also make whatever your favorite Dragon Ball is into a bear.
I mean, what? No, what? I don't want. Okay, I don't want a bear. See, I don't know if. See, now I'm conflicted because do I want to build a bear dragon? Because the Simba makes sense, right? Because it's
You can
adorable.
pretend that teddy bear ears are lions.
Well, no, it's not a. I don't know why it's called Build a Bear, and they got like Pokemon now. So it's kind of like it was teddy bears. Now it's like everything else besides bears. I don't even think they sell bears anymore. I
They
didn't see.
do.
I didn't know that. See, I didn't
Yep.
see a single bear. I saw. Well, then again, I saw Simba, and like my eyes were locked. I was like, I need Simba. I need Simba. And then they told me how much it was. I'll come back for Simba later.
Right. Yeah. My day job is working for Axiom Space, and one of their zero G flight, or one of their space flights had a zero G indicator called Gigi, and she's a bear from Build a Bear in our Axiom spacesuit.
They so CMG, by the way, CMG, it was a joke, the whole the boo that convention. Boo, that was just a joke. It wasn't meant to be taken seriously. But she says she has Isabel. Is it Isabel from Animal Crossing? Is it Isabel? Yeah, I think it's Isabel. Isabel. Oh, we got
I don't know. You can see that chat. I can't.
yeah, it's on a what's it called? Instagram, the gram of the instance. Uh, seven Android 17 is in the has joined our Instagram live stream, and Miss Tina 210 has joined. Welcome, welcome. Paradise Anime Inc. has also joined us. So Delta is fast approaching. We've talked about that. It's definitely, like I said, I've seen you at the cons. I've seen you stressed.
Yes.
Lots of things can happen at the con. Like last year, like one thing that I like about the convention is that you're like the guys that run your safety team. We don't say security, we say safety because Texas, but they do a great job. I'm always like, I've talked to them, I work with them. As a matter of fact, we started the wristband thing for the karaoke panel. Like, hey, the hotel has a bar. So if you're gonna bring that with you, we need a CID because I'm not getting my panel shut down because you decided to take some spicy water and you're not old enough to ride that ride.
Right.
So we're always looking for ways to kind of help and like kind of just make things easier on y'all. And I think the like when somebody said like the wristband thing helped out so much because we knew who was of age and who wasn't, and that kind of like helped out a little bit.
Right. Not serving alcohol to underage minors is a really good start to a good panel. Getting yourself in trouble by the law is not a good start to a
Yeah,
good panel.
I'm not going to jail for any of y'all.
Right.
No, I'm sorry. No offense. No jail.
Okay.
Right? I mean, if I'm gonna go, it's gonna be for something I did, not. But
Right.
no, I wouldn't do that. Anyways, no,
You
but
got a little 5-year-old that needs you to stay out of jail over there.
that's true. I gotta buy her more Build a Bear stuff, and
Or, you can go back to your bubble wand and her Haya and just call it, well, her name is Zelda. Just, put her in that new Nintendo game that Zelda's a playable character.
all right. So it's funny that we call her. I didn't think Zelda was like a super common name, but apparently it kind of is because there's a lot of kids that are named Zelda, or there were a lot of people named Zelda, or the aunt from Sabrina the Teenage Witch was named Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
And but Robin Williams did name his daughter after Zelda from the game. And my daughter is named after Zelda from the game.
So, what you probably need to realize is the generation that's having kids now is the generation that grew up with Link and Zelda. So, Zelda was a great thing for them. So, when they grow up to have kids, Zelda's still a great name.
So,
But
what you're saying is that don't be surprised when somebody's walking around with their kid going, Optimus Prime, get over here.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised about that either.
Which, I mean, it's cool. I like the names. I do. I like that my daughter's name is Zelda. I thought it was a little bit more unique. I wanted to give her like a different name, like Girlku, like like Goku but with girl in the front instead. But my the mother of my child was like, no.
Yeah, yeah, good call on that one.
I don't know if she's watching. Uh, so what?
Even if she's not, it was still a good call.
So like we have so much going on for Delta HCon. There's so much going on. It's definitely going to be one of those weekends to where people are talking about it. People are talking about everything that's going on. We got a lot of new things going on. How like last year y'all were in the running for Con of the Year. This year y'all have a strong, like, I guess lead up to it, like the lead up to the convention, is pretty strong right now. People are talking about it, and it could. So let me put it like this: our highest scored convention this year is a tie between three conventions, and it's an 8.75.
Well, I
Uh,
don't know what the rules are. I don't know what the scoring is. I can't even say I knew it was a thing that we were getting rated. So I just try to put on the best show I can every single year.
y'all got an 8 out of 10 last year.
Nice.
It's based off of average too. So like somebody gave it a lower score, so it brought the actual score down. So maybe I shouldn't have mentioned that part. I mean,
I
how
can't affect how the community that you pick to participate in
well,
that. Uh,
I don't even pick. So the way it works is, so we take different. So the way it works is this, and I'll share that with you. Uh, we take different people who have different perspectives of the convention, because the convention is not going to have the same experience for every, like, for the same two people.
right.
So that we took that into heavy consideration. One person could have loved it and give it a perfect 10, and one person could have showed up and they were absolutely miserable. And then we want to know, why did you love it? Why were you miserable? What were your pros? What were your what were your pros of the con, and what were your cons of the con? That's a play on the word. Yes, princess. Say hi. I think your mom's watching. You want to say hi?
Hi.
So yeah, so like we do rate
Hi,
y'all,
Starkey.
and the rating system is just to kind of like, you're dirty. What's dirty?
Starkey.
Okay. You're fine. Uh, I'll take care of you in a minute. Okay. I'm almost done. Uh, I'll get you a treat. I got to bribe her with treats. So we do review the conventions, but the convention is not to like badmouth the convention or anything like that. We don't want to do that. Some people have taken it that way, like, oh, how dare you talk bad about our convention, like yada yada yada. I'm like, no, that's not the purpose. The purpose is to kind of address where you can improve, and what doesn't really need improvement, like what works and what doesn't. And then what one person likes about the con, another person might not like. Like some people love the viewing rooms. Like, oh, I love the viewing rooms because I always chill in there, sit down, take a minute to unwind, watch some anime I've never seen before. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And there are other people like myself that think they're like a waste of space, but they're like part of the anime convention tradition, so I understand why they're there. Yeah, I'll help you in a minute. I'll help you in a minute. Tell grandma. So I think, like, there's my opinion though, right? But I never like downscore like a convention. So you guys have done really well, and you guys have come a long way from the first Delta. Like I was at the first Delta, and I have like been to most of the Delta H cons, um, and I have to say that you guys have come a long way. Like Delta from 10 years ago, and I mean like 2014, is not the same Delta H con from last year.
If
Because
we
like,
stop growing, if we stop changing, if we stop learning, we just stop.
but
Like,
there's another thing that you just mentioned, growing. So as a convention, and sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but as a convention, are you happy with the current size that you have? Are you looking to like expand?
I think we still have room to grow the community at our current venue.
Hmm.
Um, if we grow too much where we are, we will have to get a different venue, which is not bad. But in Houston, you've got venues of like the tiny variety that are good for maybe a wedding. You have three in the category of being able to host a convention the size of Delta, um, at least hotels. If we wanted to change the format of Delta to something that had more of a start and an end every day, as opposed to we open on Friday and we close on Sunday, and there's cool stuff to do all freaking night long Friday and all freaking night long Saturday. Um, less stuff at 3 to 5 in the morning, but still stuff to do. Um, if we wanted to fundamentally change the way Delta works, there's 2 other venues we could do. So that's 5 in our size. Anything bigger than that, we're at like the Marriott Marquis or the Hilton Americas right next to the George R. Brown, and they've got 3 times the floor space, and
Mhm.
even their tiny room is the size of our large panel room. So we would have to go from being like a 5,000 person con to an 11,000 person con to change venues.
Mhm.
And I've seen some shows that grew that fast. They also failed really fast because they weren't able to keep up. Because what you need to run a 3 to 5,000 person con, attendee con, is not the same back end business framework, and the amount of volunteers and the amount of stuff that you need to run an 11,000 person con. I mean, it's
Which brings up a good point because I think, and the reason why I asked that, because people don't realize that. Well, we spoke to another convention, and if it's not my daughter, it's the dog. Everyone's knocking stuff off my desk. Hey, don't mess with her. Build a bear. Costs money. Uh, who don't realize that like it's not just a simple, because people ask all the time, oh, why doesn't this convention just grow bigger and like have like a bigger venue and just bring more attendees? It's like, would you say that you kind of said that it's not the same as running a 3,000 person con to a people don't, I guess people don't realize or just don't catch that it's a lot of work to run a convention that massive.
right. So Austin, San Antonio, and Dallas don't have the same venue restrictions that Houston does. They have some middle of the road, um, between the 50,000 square feet that Delta's in and the 200 and some odd thousand square feet that the Marriott Marquis or the Hilton Americas are. That's the venues are 3 times the size here in Houston, but in Dallas, Austin, and San Antonio, there's one in the middle. There's like a categories in the middle there. Um, so yeah, I don't know. It's You need more staff because you've got more rooms, you've got more attendees, you need more safety folks, you just need more everything. Um, the other thing that comes with drastically changing venue sizes is every con is at the whim of the attendees. We front load the cost of venues and guests and travel and all of that, and a lot of times we just hope people show up. Like, we do the marketing, we do pre-sales, so we've got some idea of how many people are coming. But every show I've been to and the showrunners that I talk to, they all say the same thing. Half or more of their attendees show up day of. So they have to have a fairly decent pocketbook, um, at least the first couple of years, before they get the roll going of, the attendee showed up, I paid off my bills, I have a little bit to do the next year. Um,
Mhm.
and if you're trying to change venues and you're looking at, okay, well, my spend has been this much for this venue, and it goes up every year because the venue, has more taxes and more overhead and whatever, just like you do on your house and or your apartment or whatever. Um, so
Yeah.
their cost goes up, so our cost goes up because their cost went up. But if you're in like this venue size, and they're roughly the same price depending on it, price per square foot. And then you try to go to a venue here in Houston that's 3 times the size of where you were, it's also 3 times the price or more.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of shows that just like, I have to stay small because I can't afford to be big.
I will say, so you brought up the like the business, the logistics portion of the change in venue. There's also I will say from an attendee standpoint, when it comes to conventions changing like drastically from size from one size to the next, I feel like part of Delta HCon's charm because the size it is, it's not a big convention, but it's not a small convention. It's because the with the smaller conventions, when I say smaller, something that's not like 10, 20, 50,000 people, right?
Right.
uh People tend to be a little bit more social, a little bit more friendly, more open to like speak, like you can make friends a little bit easier at, like, I call them homie. If a convention is more homie, you can make homies at the homie con. That was awful, I know, but I will say, yeah, I like the smaller cons because it's easier to make friends, easy to meet people. We always make new friends every year. Like, we always have to, our we have like an open door policy with our group. We invite people like, hey, we bought like 6 boxes worth of pizza. We noticed you haven't eaten anything all weekend. Would you like to join us? Stuff like that. And one thing I'll say, like working with Delta H con staff, because it's the con size is so, like, I like the con size. I've been able to not just work with you, but work with other people, because I usually don't really, not that I avoid you, but I don't talk to you that much during Delta, because I seen you like you have like 5 seconds between every task.
Yes. I am
So
the marionette holder.
I'm like, hey, I have like, hey, because we were talking, we were making a joke, like, hey, we need to figure out what's going on. Should we? And like, oh, there's Sarah. Let's go talk to her. I'm like, no, let's go talk to somebody else.
If they need Sarah to get involved, I'll go get Sarah. But talk to somebody else first. Probably a good
Yeah,
idea.
I'm like, the only time I almost got you involved was like, I was like, hey, uh, I need the press thingy for my badge, and they're like, well, do you have your email? I couldn't find my email, and I needed somebody to vouch, like, hey, I'm here's press. I want my press thing, because
Right.
like with the press thing, like, I so some of the events have dress codes, and when you're there to review it and not just as an attendee, like, hey, I'm not an attendee, I'm just here to kind of observe and review.
Right.
And because I do not have formal wear, I don't do formal wear. I only do them for like weddings and wakes and quinceañeras, and that's about it. And I was like, I need to get in. I need the press thing because they're not going to let me in unless I go put on some pants. That sounds awful, but that's not what I wear. Shorts. I love shorts, so I don't usually wear pants around the con. As a matter
It's
of fact, I
July
walk.
in Texas, so
Yeah, it's
shorts.
hot.
Why not?
It's devastatingly hot. So I'm like, I don't want to put on pants. I need the press thing. I was like, oh my god, where's Sarah? They're not giving me the press thing. And then, but somebody else came by. I was like, hey, tell them I'm pressed. They're like, yeah, he's pressed. All right, cool. I was like, yeah,
Hey,
but
Mark's on. Hi, Mark.
wait, where?
In the restream, Mark just said,
Oh,
"Gotta love Delta HCon."
yes. I have seen Mark Birdie before in one of the Houston groups. They used to do some Pokemon stuff. What's up? I've never officially met you, but I have seen you around, sir. How are you doing today? Thank you for watching us. Oh, we're on. Oh, he's commenting on Facebook.
Oh, yeah. Now that I look, it does say the little service that they're from.
Yes. My boy Randy live on a Saturday. Okay. Yes, sir. Special edition. We now do. This is our 18.5 episode of season. It's season 5, 18.5 episode number. We're doing more content, more weekly content. So be prepared to see more Wednesday shows, Thursday shows, Saturday shows, and more Friday shows. That's right. We will be live streaming. We're going to try to live stream from the conventions a little bit more. We've never really done it before, but we're going to try because we want to be more active. Uh, is there anything about Delta this year? So every that you are doing that's different. I know every year you have different guests, and it's got to like that's got to be tough getting different guests every year. But is there something about this year in particular that you're kind of like excited about, or like, oh, that's interesting, or it's just like,
Well, I mean, since the um, first or second Delta, we've had some sort of dance event. And we've tried the more EDM type dance, and we tried the formal dance, and it seemed like the formal had more folks. So we kind of doubled down on the formal. Um, and last year there was a gentleman from the community that wanted to try the EDM type dance again, and it wasn't too bad. The community kind of liked it. So we've doubled down this year on Friday night. We have Club Kenyobi coming on. The DJs that are coming in, DJ Barry Toki, Sefi Hakubi, and Kohei are going to be our DJs for that night. They worked with us to come up with the name that Delta could keep, Club Kenyobi. So going forward, we'll probably do that as well as our formal. Because I mean, like I said, we started trying to figure out the dance thing, and EDM just wasn't a thing back in the 2007, 2008 that like hit off with our community. So we tried the steampunk for a while. It didn't really work either. It did, but it didn't. So we do try the evening stuff, and we try to evolve with the community. So this year, we've got Club Kenyobi coming in, and trying to figure out how that's going to work. I don't know Japanese very well, but I think I remember it was like Friday night party or something like that.
Yeah. Y'all
And
had some interesting stuff on Friday nights. Last year, y'all had like y'all had some kind of slumber party thing going on.
yes, the Homestuck community. I was like, I totally forgot what they're called. I was just looking at them.
I
The
thought it was
Homestuck
super.
community has always been a pretty good showing at Delta. The last couple of years, they've not so much done panels, but this year they're doing panels again. And they have a PJ party. Have a PJ party for Friday night.
I apologize to our viewers. I have two people fighting for my attention right now: the dog and my daughter. This is Hero. He's the Geeks Fiber dog. Ah, stop it. And this is Zelda, the Geeks Fiber princess. Can y'all both stop? I can't work with these conditions. So we do have some comments in here. 12 Ang says we love Delta H. That is one of our friends that regularly goes to our events during Delta. We've never officially met, but I've seen you a million times, especially at karaoke. Yes, that's normally where you see me. I love the size of Delta H Con. The panels are all fantastic. Wish you guys would have Kaza back.
Kazaha. They're a Japanese band that's touring the United States.
I
We
mean,
would love to have them back. It just their schedule and our schedule just haven't lined up the last couple of years.
I will admit that some years of Delta H Con, we definitely like did some crazy stuff. Like we had a concert in our hotel room, and in order to get in to watch the concert, you had to have a Delta H Con pass. That was interesting, and I remember everyone hearing about it. They're like, "Did you have a concert in your room?" No. Who told you? It's like,
Yeah, we heard about that.
but so the thing is, we do some crazy stuff, but we actually, so we don't trash the room. The one thing that we have strict rules: one, you have to bathe every day. Two,
Soap is
uh,
good. Soap is your friend.
today's podcast is brought to you by soap. I will do that during my like karaoke. I'll be like, all right, ladies and gentlemen, shameful advertising segue. Today's karaoke is brought to you by soap and water. Take a bath. So yeah, we do that during the show. We try to be
The
funny.
breeze does not count. Please take a bath.
That's right. Axe Body. Today's podcast is brought to you by Axe body spray is not shower in a can.
Yeah.
And
So we've
uh-huh.
always kicked around, little trinkets and things to give away for the show. And every year somebody brings up, hey, can we have soap as a giveaway? And I'm like, no, no.
Speaking of which, I do have to put this out there. This is more of a serious thing. Please do not spray people with Febreze or Axe or anything like that. Lysol. That is considered assault. So that has been a thing lately. Please don't do it. We don't recommend that you do it at all. For one, you could spray somebody in the eye, and it's a chemical. So, like, honestly, we just tell everybody, look, just put on some fresh deodorant. Grab
The,
some baby wipes,
the main reason it's
freshen
considered
up.
assault and you shouldn't do it is because people are allergic to that. That we have people on staff who are allergic to the the hand sanitizer likes to come with aloe in it. They're allergic to the aloe. So we have to be careful which sanitizer we get. We have people on staff that are allergic to Febreze. So we have to be careful about that too. So you never know who's allergic to what. So don't spray people with stuff. Just because it's good
Exactly.
on you doesn't mean it's good on them.
Yeah, it's true. It's very, very true. Let me check Instagram real quick because I haven't acknowledged that chat in a little bit. Want to give a shout out to Choppy Waters, Zion Fox. You just saw Zelda. Uh, don't, she just went to go harass my dog. Uh, I made and bats, no bats. Oh, and she just stepped on my dog. He just cried. I probably should go check on them pretty soon. But someone sprayed my friend last year. Yes, that is a no-no. We do not condone that. We don't do it, guys. Don't do it. That's a serious thing. And just keep that in mind. With that being okay, so kind to go back to the panel. So last year you had the pajama party, you had the formal, we had the single social gathering as well, which I don't know how it turned into a dance. I have no clue. I had a speaker playing music to kind of break the silence because I don't do awkward silences. And the music is kind of like it's actually a really good icebreaker because it gives off like a depending on the type of song, it gives off like a vibe. And then someone's like, "Can we play Cha Cha Slide?" And then like the whole room just
Yes, Mark, we have a couple more to go, but not very many.
yes. Wait, what was the
Mark asked if there were more guest announcements to come. There are. There are a couple more spooled up, but
which brings up another question. Is can you share with us
not the ones I
officially?
haven't announced.
No, 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 not that, not that. Has the schedule been finalized?
um, I had some people today message me about their panels.
I said I was
So
sorry. I
I
said
don't
I
know
was
what those
sorry.
emails say. I'm trying to get the book to print, and I know panels go in the book. So, um, but I got to get a lot of stuff in the book too, and I want the book 99% done before I start looking at those emails because I'll get into email hell. I'll be stuck there for hours. um, but I would say the panels are majority done. There'll be a couple of little shifting pieces or ones that have to drop out, but that's about the change that's going to happen in the next 3 days.
Mhm.
After that, you can probably consider it finalized. Um, we normally do like an at a glance schedule piece and post it at the top of our event list so people have an easier time finding stuff. Because I know our event list is it's not insubstantial. It has a lot of events happening over the weekend, so it's a very long list. Once those get posted, I would consider the event schedule finalized.
Okay. Thank you. So the reason why I'm asking because this is something somebody brought up as a question to ask you,
Mhm.
and I kind of like already like told them what was the deal because I already know because I've been around the block. So you have a semi schedule on the website, right?
Right now, the events are all listed that have been approved on the website.
Right, but no. This is before you approved the panels. So I'm talking about like a week ago or a couple weeks ago. It might have been a week and a half ago. Somebody brought up like, hey, or because they approached them like, hey, are y'all not doing karaoke this year? I'm like, yeah, why? And they're like, oh, because you're not on, like, none of y'all stuff is on the schedule. And I'm like, what schedule? And I'm like, that's the guest schedule. That's not, because you have a guest schedule that is made far in advance, right? Like this is like stuff with your guests, like voice actors or guest
Right.
cosplayers
So
or attractions.
we've got some things that Delta runs,
Hmm.
like the staff runs and Delta puts together.
Hmm.
And so those events go on as early as we can put them on. And then as soon as we start getting guests and their panels start getting slotted and approved by their agents, then we can release them when their announcements go out.
Hmm.
Um, so till all the guest schedules are finalized, I don't schedule community panels because the guests always have constraints, so to
Yeah.
speak. I need them at the Gold Pass stuff, and they need certain times that maybe they have to record an episode up in their room, so they have certain things they have to do. Um, and not that I don't want to give the community the date and time and room they ask for, um, but if a celebrity can't make like a 4 o'clock slot, but they can make a 3 o'clock because 4 o'clock they got to go back to their room and record stuff so we can have cool new episodes of our favorite anime next week. Um, then I don't want to tell the community, yeah, you can have that 3 o'clock spot. Then go, oh my bad, now you need the 4 o'clock spot.
Yeah. No, because I guess because there was some confusion earlier, like they were asking and they were like they approached us and they're like, hey, like, because people, the one thing that has become a staple of Delta, which was never our intention, but it kind of just happened, is karaoke. It's like the one thing that people like, okay, yeah, we're gonna go to karaoke and we're gonna get, we're gonna have all kinds of fun and do all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm like, okay, cool. Make sure you have the wristband on before you do any of that stuff, and make sure you're responsible. But they're like, it has become like a thing every year that people kind of expect now because we've been doing karaoke for Delta. I want to say since 2018, 2019, somewhere around.
Possibly even before that.
Like, I'm gonna be maybe because we didn't start, like, we that was just something like, hey, y'all should have karaoke. What if we volunteered to host it just so y'all could have it until y'all can get somebody to actually do it, and then and we kind of just like it became our thing, and now we do it for other conventions. But like, yeah, no, that people were approaching us about karaoke, and it's like, yeah, we're gonna do it. We signed up for it. I signed up late for it because this year has not been very kind. But no, yeah, like people saw that schedule, and I'm like, yeah, that's the guest schedule. That's a little different. Like, that's, yeah, they have different like regulations and rules for that because what if they got a homeboys? What if they got somebody like, hey, I gotta go. Because I brought up that example, like, what if they got to go record? Like, hey, I got to go record Bleach, but I got to host. When you got to record Bleach at 2, but host a panel at 3. So I was like, yeah, that's probably a good example because I remember Johnny one year had to record anime stuff the following day for a convention. Like I wasn't even a volunteer. Like the con chair just came up and like, hey, Jesse, you're in charge. I don't even work here.
Oh, that's was there a ball pit involved with that one?
New.
Okay.
No, it was not a ball pit, but I was like, fine. Johnny, stay where I can see you. But it was no, it was Kamikaze Con because his band was there performing. His
Ah, okay.
band was performing, and I had to babysit the band and Johnny because Johnny had like bleach stuff the next day,
He had
and
to go to sleep at a certain time. He couldn't just leave the concert running.
oh no, he passed out.
Oh,
Somebody decided to take him to a room party, and he passed out. I was like, please don't be dead. Johnny, are you okay? This was 2010. This was 14 years ago.
Oh, that was reboot comic Kamikaze Con.
It was Kamikaze Con 3. The second year, I remember the second year, I remember the third year. Yeah, it was Kamikaze Con 3. I remember that year because that was the year they brought Johnny in to do because that was the year Jason David Frank showed up. Okay, I'll stop him in a minute. All right, so we are down to our final question of the day, and then we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. So Wit, Delta's right around the corner. 3 weeks. 3 weeks. You have okay, so you still have a few guests to announce.
My countdown timer says 19 days.
That's 3 weeks.
Sure. It's a little over 2.
Look, I have one more paycheck before Delta. So that's why
Okay, fair.
I get paid bi-weekly. All right. So um what was I going with that? Okay. So are you waiting till after Delta? Or are you already kind of low key planning out uh next year?
So we have contracts for 25 and 26. We know the dates that those are happening. I already have one guest on signed contract for 25. I've got another one said he will show up for 25. I just haven't had a chance to get him the contract yet. He was okay with getting it next week. And I've got a third that has said she will talk to me when she does her 25 planning about September.
Okay.
So, sure, we can go with low key 25. But yeah.
So I will say this. I do not plan on hosting panels forever. I am already yes.
Those names sound good, Mark.
Okay, so uh I am low key already like so one thing about Geeks Fiber is I want Geeks Fiber to like be something that's going to continue even after I decide to step out. Because I'm turning 36 this year and I don't want to be like I don't want to host panels forever because I want to focus like my kid's 5 now. I want to focus on her more. And I'm definitely not going to introduce her until into conventions until she's a lot older. But with that being said, like we have other people that were like, hey, we're gonna show you how we do panels, so hopefully you can run panels in the future. That's why one of our panels is called Creating Your Own Panel 101.
Right. I
Like
believe
we
that's on Sunday, right?
that is on Sunday, and if we I look, I will be there even if like here's the thing. I love hosting karaoke super late, and I don't even go to bed anyway because like I don't see because our hotel room is until Monday. So like, okay, I'm just gonna stay up, host the next panel, and then once that's done, I'm gonna come back and go to bed. So that's why during the emails it's like, are you okay with staying up that late? Yeah, yeah, of course I am. Because
Right.
my hotel room is until Monday. So I don't have to like I'm not like throwing my luggage off the balcony just to make sure I'm out of the room by 12.
You're hosting how to create your own panel is at 4 o'clock. So hopefully you're conscious by then.
They made it sound like it was at 7 in the morning.
You have an 11 o'clock in the morning, a hill I would die on.
See, that's nothing, man. I only sleep like 3 or 4 hours. They made it sound like, okay, so if you run karaoke late until like 3 or 4, are you going to be okay for your next panel that's early? And they made it sound like I had to be there at 7 in the morning. Like, are you serious? Like, yeah,
We've met
I'll
you,
be fine.
Jesse. We know you're not conscious at 7 o'clock in the morning.
No, I mean, my panel still gets host, even if I'm not conscious. I'm still there. My body's probably on autopilot, or one of my co-hosts is there. The panel still gets run. And like even then, we even volunteer to host panels that aren't even ours. Hey, did the host show up? No. Can I run it? I mean, I guess. Do you know anything about Evan Van Galen? Nope. I'll make it up. So
Pretty
like
sure Evangelion panels went off because they had the cast of Evangelion a couple of years ago
there
running.
was 1 year. No. There was 1 year. Hey, where the volunteers like, hey, you're Geeks Fiber, right? I'm like, yeah, what's up? Because we were gonna go eat breakfast because we had just hosted our panel. No, we were gonna eat lunch, and we just hosted our panel. And I'm like, hey, I got like 2 hours for my next one, so let's go get some food. But I don't want to walk into that Sahara Desert that you call a parking lot, so let's just eat at the hotel. And so somebody's like, hey, can you host one of the panels that's starting like in 10 minutes because the host is not here? I'm like, what's the panel? And they told me, I think it was Evan Evangelion. I was like, bro, do you know I don't know anything about that anime? I was like, I'll host it, but I don't know anything about it. Like, I'll just go up there. All right, because I can talk my way out of a situation. But yeah, no, it's definitely one of those. Yeah, we like helping. Like, we enjoy helping Delta. We make sure that people enjoy themselves, and people really do. Like, one thing that I can say that I'm very proud of is that people that know us and that come to our panels actually have a great time. As a matter of fact, one of the vendors last year, I was walking to the dealer's room and the vendor's like, bro, you made me laugh so much. He bought me a figure from another vendor. Like, he bought me a Dragon Ball figure from his competition. Like, hey man, there's like a figure I wanted. I can't afford it. It's like $30. He's like, I'll get it for you. I was like, I didn't know. I was about to start crying. I was like, thank you.
Yeah, well,
We're
I,
actually about to
I,
go
I
to the
do
store in a
kind of
minute.
like the community that Delta is. The vendors, the volunteers, the attendees, everybody, they're a lot like family.
It's true. No, don't move my mic, please. We're about to go to the store in a minute. Uh, is there anything that you would like to say about Delta this year to our audience, like whether they're watching the recap or they're watching live from Instagram or the Book of Faces?
Mark has a thing in the chat. He says, before this ends, I attend many cons, and Delta H Con is my favorite. Um, I too attend. I too attend many cons across the state promoting Delta, and for my own enjoyment. And I do try to make Delta the best one that I like. Um, so I'm glad other people in the community feel the same way.
No, Delta's a great con. We enjoy it every year. People enjoy it. People like coming to our events. People like coming to hang out with us in our hotel room. People like coming to our panels. They like karaoke. They enjoy Delta. Delta, like, there was last year at like 4 or 5 in the morning. We were just hanging out like in that little couch section, where they had where you have your registration. We were just hanging out there. Everybody's just like talking, like woo party because nobody wants to go to bed. And yeah, I mean, like
You go to
we
bed, then the fun ends for the day, and Delta's one more day closer to being done. So I
yeah,
get it.
because Sunday it's like, all right, time to get our stuff and get out of here. At least get out of the hotel room because they're gonna charge you for an extra day. But like Delta definitely is one of my favorite conventions. I enjoy coming to it every year. Definitely, we are looking forward to this year. It is after BotCon, so I am working both conventions.
But it's not on
Um,
the same weekend, so you don't have to do both in the same day.
that's good because I'm not. I don't. I know I keep saying I don't ever want to do that again, but I'm pretty sure, not Delta per se, but I'm pretty sure there's a convention where I'm going to have to work both in the same weekend, and that was tough. That was not easy.
No.
No, don't recommend it. Just sign up
Well,
for one con.
in general, for the community, I'd like to say we've got lots of cool things planned this year for Delta. We really do hope you come out and have another year of enjoyment.
That's right. All right. So just real quick, gonna plug in your socials. Follow us. Make sure you follow Delta HCon at Delta HCon on Instagram, the Facebook, the Twitters, the
Yep.
Twitches, the what?
YouTube, you can find us just about anywhere at Delta HCon. Even on the website, it's deltahcon.com.
All right. So you're about to rip my cable, and I need this headset for work. All right. All right. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Make sure you follow us at Geeks Forever. If you're watching on YouTube, whether you're watching us live or watching the replay, make sure you hit the thumbs up button because it helps us with that YouTube algorithm. If you want to be notified every time we go live, make sure you ring-a-ling the ding-a-ling button because every time we go live, you will be notified. Hey, Geeks Forever is live. They don't have lives, and you probably don't have anything better to do, so come watch them. Also, join us at Delta HCon, BotCon. We're also doing Anime Texas, More Phenomenal Expo, San Japan, and several other conventions I can't remember the names to. But in 3 weeks, July 12th through the 14th, Delta HCon at the West Chase Marriott.
See you, Mark. See you, everybody.
See ya. Thank you for watching. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, fanfiction.net. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We will see you Monday with our brand new episode. Have a good night. Peace.